Out of the 14 years, I've coached for 13.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. My name is Ven, and my derby name is currently Potato, Patat, or Coach Potato, depending on the situation, and my pronouns are she, her. Derby number is 8246. I'm 38 years old. I'm an elementary school teacher. I've been playing derby for about 14 years. I am a skater and a coach. I have had many derby names over the years. So I started out as Charlie Braun. Because growing up, we had a dog named Snoopy. I wanted it to be Vendetta, but at the time there was this website, and if your name was too similar to anyone else in the world who played derby, you couldn't have that name. And there was like a Vendetta Red or something somewhere. So when the website folded and like everyone could have whatever name they wanted, I was like, different name every game, which I didn't actually do, but I had a few.
Don't remember all my derby names. One of them was Potato, all caps, question mark, exclamation mark, Big Mac Attack.
I had Big Mac Fanny Pack.
And who do we have for Ottawa? We have 8246 Big McFanny Pack. Again, another great name.
Yeah.
Big McFanny.
There were a lot of like food themed ones that I don't remember. Silly Sausage.
There was Terry Blocks for Terry Fox. Ooh, no, I remembered one. One time I was and to Neil, so that when they said, and your captain, and to Neil, it would be Captain and to Neil. And everyone was too young and nobody got it. And then the whole game, they just kept being like, and to Neil was on the line. It was really sad, but like it was well thought out, I thought. There was a year or two where I found that I was coaching more than I was playing. So jokingly, my name became Coach Potato. A lot of people don't get the reference. They don't get that it's Couch Potato, but Coach Potato. They just think it's potato. Anyway. I want to be Coach Potato. I lied. I'm changing my name. And then when I went back to skating, I had to drop the coach part. So then it was Potato. And then when I played for Les Bûches, which is a team in Quebec, I decided it should be more bilingual. So I ended up with Patat. And then one of my friends, Anne-Marie, taught me the expression patati patata in French. And I was like, I should be patati patata because like, that's a fun thing to say. And then I was like, just messing with the announcers a little bit one time. So I played as petit patati patata.
Okay, I still want you to do Tasty Tater.
Oh yeah. Okay, next game I play.
Okay. Really?
Number 8246, Potato!
And I realized that I have forgotten to use Tasty Tater, and so I'm being forced to play an extra season so that I can play as Tasty Tater, because I promised Bean more wave. It's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing when they like call your name and people are like, because I'm like, I'm not actually good. And like, hey, don't look at me. Gordy was founded in 2006. We used to be a sole proprietorship, so one person owned the league. I don't know what year it was, but at one point we became a not-for-profit. Yeah, I've been around for long enough that the sport has changed. We've had maybe 2 or 3 sets of rules since I started, and it was like the 2-whistle start. There would be a whistle for the pack to go, and then there was a double whistle for the jammers to be released. Penalties used to be a minute, and now they're 30 seconds, and because the whole point is to not let the jammer go, right? And the players would figure out really effective ways to do that, and then the crowd would get bored because the pack would barely move, and so they kept having to come up with like ways to make the game flow so that it was fun for people to watch. I got into derby for the same reason as a lot of people who started around the time that I started, which was that we watched the movie With It. Most people watched With It and said, I really want to try that sport. I watched With It, and there's a scene where Elliot Page is skating around their neighborhood. And I was like, I want to do that. I don't want to do the like hitting people playing the sport thing. I don't know that I have a taste for hitting people. I don't know that that's, well, that's not true. I enjoy hitting people. I don't enjoy being hit as much.
That's what I meant.
And so I fell into derby because I just wanted to learn how to skate and stop and potentially dance on my skates. And the closest thing that we had in Ottawa was roller derby. So I signed up for the crash course. Said you can just do it for fitness, you don't have to play. And so my first year I said, I don't think I'm going to play. And someone else on the team was kind of in the same situation, and she said, well, I'm going to try playing this one season, and then if I don't like it, I won't play again.
Another 18 minutes.
And I thought that was a good idea, so I did that, and then I just kept playing. I started out as a jammer. I do remember that I was afraid of being around other people, and so jamming was great because I hated being in the pack. Little did I know, if you're not good at jamming, you're in the pack the whole time, and people are hitting you.
down the whole team. Woo! Go Ben!
So I think the idea was, because I was fast and little,
Charlie Braun.
Oh yeah, Charlie Brown.
I could kind of slip through. I could not. I was kind of a rag doll who got beaten up a bit, but it was better in my mind than being in the pack because the pack was scary. So my first game was in Ottawa against the Limestone Crushers, which was one of the leagues out of Kingston. And I was jamming, and there was a tie when the time ran out. And so we had to go into overtime and have one last jam. And I'm pretty sure we won, but I can't exactly remember. At the time when I was jamming, the game was really different. So it was literally like, skate as fast as you can, try to avoid being hit as hard as people could hit you. We had strategies, but as a jammer, I was just running for my life. I spent a lot of time on the ground. When I first started, 2 or 3 years in, there was it still exists. It's a website now. I think it was a magazine or something called Jammerline. And the guy had made like this poster graphic thing of me. It was very strange. And like people could buy it. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What? And like, I'm sure no one did, but it was like me in like tiny gold shorts. I mean, I was wearing pants also, but like, anyway, it was very strange. I was jamming and I was like their banner for a while. Like when you went to their website, I was like the poster girl for Jammerline.
Wow.
Yeah, it was strange.
So you must have been some kind of good if you're like the poster child.
I don't know. It was a good picture. My very first coach, Emmy, if she was on the track, I felt like it would be okay. It's like, it's okay, Emmy's got it. If I lose the jammer, Emmy's got it. She would also constantly just be like, it's okay, we just have to do this thing. Okay. She was my first coach ever because I didn't do sports. So just like, if Emmy said something, I was like, okay, I believe you. She taught me everything. She was amazing. When I started, my coach was Japanese. And I was like, ooh, another Asian person. I grew up in a suburb, and so it was mostly all white people with a few Asians mixed in. It's never bothered me. Like, I've always been proud of my Chinese heritage. I made my mom come in when I was in grade 4 and do a presentation about China because I was like, here's this really cool thing about me. My mom's from China.
My family is biracial. My mother is white. My dad is Jamaican Caribbean with some like East Indian. I tell a story like where I was like, I was convinced I was going to grow up to be like blonde hair and blue eyed like Barbie. Like I thought for sure that that's just what like grown-ups look like. Like grown-up women are, you know, white.
It would be great if Derby could attract more people of color, but I also am aware of the fact that when people come in and they see me, they don't necessarily identify me as a person of color because I'm white passing, and so they probably just think I'm white until I make an Asian joke, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not racist, I'm actually Asian. When you're biracial, sometimes it doesn't come across.
I grew up in like a biracial household, and it was hard to understand where it fits, feeling like you're outside of something.
Well, an interesting thing about being biracial is that if I'm with the Asian side of my family, I'm very white. And if I'm with the white side of my family, I'm very Asian. So when you're biracial, like it's also really hard to find a space where you're not the minority, even if people don't notice, because like I said, like often people don't realize that I'm Asian. Gloria and I had an interesting conversation. I was telling her that I think it's actually to our advantage because if you've always felt a little bit different, that you're not afraid of being different or standing out because it's just your norm. I don't even think about it. It's probably actually our strength to have not necessarily felt like we fit in everywhere. Probably why we don't mind being weird.
I was at RollerCon. They had a specific skate session for bi and multiracial skaters, and at first I was like, oh, that's weird, I can't go. And then I realized that they probably have a very specific set of shared experiences that other people like myself wouldn't understand.
Hey, it's Coach Potato here with Ottawa Roller Derby again. Today we're going to be talking about what happens when you have fallen and you can't get up.
So when I first joined the league, it was like a weird time. There were like a lot of people in it, and they already had 2 teams. They had the Bytown Blackhearts and the Capital Carnage, and they were going to be like drafting from my like freshie session to the 2 teams, which P.S. I really wanted to be a Bytown Blackheart because I really don't like Capital Carnage as a name and I didn't like their logo. Perhaps why we all play as the Bytown Blackhearts now. Perhaps I had a say in that. And then they were like, oh, there's too many people. Like the new freshie group can be their own team. So we were going to form a new team called the Chaos Crew. And then there was a split in the league. So there was like some upset in the league and half of the people left to form the Capital City Derby Dolls. It was a league that existed for a while and it merged with what was Rideau Valley Roller Girls and then Rideau Valley Roller Derby, and now they're Ottawa Valley Roller Derby. So it was like this weird time where like a bunch of people had left and it was a bunch of the experienced skaters who had left and some of the coaches. So I think like a year in, they were looking for new coaches. I remember they were like, well, you don't necessarily have to have like coaching experience. Like maybe you're a teacher. And then like Emmy looked at me and stuck her tongue out. And so I started coaching.
The nickname Safety Bear started, say, within the first 3 years of skating. I think it's just because I'm like really into helmets fitting properly. When I joined the league, I was kind of the helmet police for everyone.
We didn't have a levels system before. We developed a levels system because we thought that it was a safer way to introduce contact gradually. Already being a recreational, different people have different ideas of what that means. For me, it means that winning isn't the most important thing, that player development and us having fun is the most important thing. I also find that one of the things that we settled on like pretty early is that we're recreational, and because we're recreational, safety comes first. Because this isn't our whole lives, we have many facets to our lives and we need to be healthy enough to do the things we need to do outside of derby. And we're like, well, you know what, actually, like I can't have a broken leg because like I gotta go to work and like people have kids and they have to take care of their kids or whatever they have going on in their lives. When I started, we didn't have the like 7-week crash course. I think I went to 1 or 2 sessions and then it was just, okay, full contact, learn to play derby. So we didn't have levels, but we had freshies and vets. And so I was in the freshies practice and we practiced after the vets. So I would come early and watch what they were doing. I think I saw like 4 leg breaks in the first 2 months that I joined. It was like I'd get there, someone would break their leg, and then they'd send me out to direct the ambulance. Emmy was our coach, like the freshies coach. And she has like some certifications in fitness and stuff. She was like, I really think we need to be doing some more off-skate training because it's really going to help prevent some of these injuries. When she took over, we didn't have a leg break for a really long time. I think until Bethany broke her leg, which was not due to not doing off-skate. It was just a fluke.
My name is Bethany. My derby name currently is Rapunzel. I used to skate either Die Beelzebub with the former logo. Changed when we changed everything. My derby number is 666. So I joined Ottawa Roller Derby back in 2013. Finished my crash course in April that year. I joined the program right away. I broke my leg that fall. I remember my first summer that I could have played. Can I ask about them? Who's that? Ben was actually one of my coaches during my crash course. Inspirational. She was who I considered to be the squatty coach.
Derby attention, ladies.
Black, sit down when you're blocking.
So she was squatting all of the time.
Get lower.
Sit down, sit down, sit down, just hold her.
And I felt like she squatted for like the full crash course hour.
Bend your knees.
Sit.
So it was always my goal to like be like Ben. I didn't know her name at the time. To be like the squatty coach.
Sit down.
So I was like, she's so cool. I want to be like her. And so like that was really my impetus. I was like, every week I was like, I want to spot more. I want to spot more. I want to spot more. And it's funny because now I've turned into the coach that yells at everyone else to spot.
Sit down, Black, sit down. Sit down.
Ottawa. I'm trying to see who it is. It's kind of difficult to see who it is from here.
I think it's Big Mac Fanny Pack.
Oh, maybe. Oh. I think you're right.
I think both.
Her derby stance is so low you can't see her number.
Yep.
And even in game pictures, she always looked so squatty.
When I started, it was fishnets, booty shorts. We were like so tough and we'd hit each other real hard. And everyone would go out and smoke before the game. Not me, because I don't smoke. And then it kind of evolved to a more serious sport. People started wearing athletic wear. People stopped smoking. I mean, in general, but also before a game, they realized that maybe was not the best for an athletic pursuit. Yeah, so it was Quadtoberfest. It was a loco tournament. It was a 2-day tournament. Yeah, it was really fun. We ended up winning the tournament, but I also wasn't reffing, so like potentially maybe they were. But yeah, I got like some excessive force calls, got some stop block, maybe a multiplayer, which like definitely was true. If it's a multiplayer, I probably have done it. Yeah, it was really fun. We ended up winning the tournament.
I do remember playing with that team. That was a really fun group of people to be skating with, and like that was probably some of the highlight years.
How the league feels is based on who's in the league at the time, and it will feel different to different people. Like if you have a lot of close friends in the league, it's going to feel different than if you're like acquaintances with most of the people in the league. Yeah, I think Bethany was talking about there was just like these years that we all fit together and we all seemed to have the same idea of what we wanted from the league and what we wanted from the team, and we were just like having a great time just playing together.
We just had a really fun crew. We were all like really good friends. We would like hang out outside of practice a lot. That was back in the era where we would eat treats a lot. Like Ben would bring baked goods to practice. I would bring baked goods, but other coaches would bring candy. Like I made a joke at one point that we do sports so that we can eat treats.
One of the things that I always think about when I think of Bethany is that she and I used to always bring cupcakes to practice, and she has this like cupcake holder. She'd walk in with her cupcakes, and then later I got a cupcake holder, so we both have cupcake holders together.
And it was very much like an ORD family, so it was really just like a fun group of people to skate with. It was just really positive all the time. Not that now isn't. We're getting back to it again. Like I feel like we've gone through waves. I mean, things did change. Honestly, we went through a wave. Things weren't great for a while.
Pandemic
but we're
happened.
back. Even before that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We had a mass exodus. It was a little bit upsetting, but we've come back. We've grown back. We've got an awesome group of skaters again. We're in that really nice, friendly space, encouraging space. So yeah, happy to be here.
One of the skaters who was in our league at the time had a friend, and her son is Matthew of Matthew the Brave. He had a seizure disorder. It's one of those really rare disorders. He would have hundreds of seizures a day, and it became quite debilitating to where he was using a wheelchair. Talking and feeding himself became difficult, and they needed to have a ramp installed at their house. And so the Matthew the Brave bout was created as a fundraiser so that we could try to raise money so that they could have a ramp put in. There was a penguin dance, so we decided to do like a little team dance for extra fun, and Matthew's favorite animal was penguins.
And so Ben had the fun idea of making up a dance about penguins. And so we literally at our halftime with skaters did a dance that Ben choreographed about penguins for this little boy, and it was so fun.
So I found a song called Party Like a Penguin. I was going to be out of town during the bout, and so I choreographed it and got the team all ready so that they would be able to perform it at the bout.
She's also put a lot of encouragement on other types of skating. Ben was the person that I went to the skate park with in the very first place.
That's possible. That's good. I don't know. I've introduced a few people to the skate park back in the day when not a lot of people went to the skate park. Now, like, it seems like everyone who joins tries out the skate park, but like, there was a time where it was like unheard of, and then I tried it a few times, and then I brought some people out a few times.
She was really encouraging. She always was really like helpful with tips. She took classes on how to do park skating, so she always came with like really solid information. So that really helped expand my love of skating, and then also helped me get better because I was doing different types of skills.
My sister used to live in Vancouver, and she played for Terminal City Roller Girls for a couple of years. And Roller Girl, who is the person who owns the store Roller Girl, I went and bought new skates. And she's like the nicest person, and she told us that there was, at the time, it was Chicks and Bowls, CIB, which is like the skate park group. So they had like CIB Vancouver, and at the time they were having a meetup, and she invited us to go. So my sister and I went, and the first time we went, it was just us, one other person, and Roller Girl. And so we were at the Hastings Skate Park, and she taught us like how to fakie, how to practice, how to do jumping transitions, and then she taught us how to like run a line at the skate park. And then the second time we went to a different skate park with her, and there were a lot more people, and she was like, yeah, I'm really trying to work on like my backwards stuff, I'm not very good. And then she like goes to the edge of the bowl and drops in backwards and like carves around the bowl, but like all the way to the coping. She's just doing everything backwards, and she came out, she's like, see, like I do not see how you're bad at that. But she's the nicest person.
Had a little skate park era, 2 or 3 years, I would say, and I had one of our skaters from the league also really liked the skate park, so we would go together a lot. Yeah, it was just fun. I actually at the time considered maybe I'm gonna quit derby and just enjoy myself at skate parks. And then kind of just fell apart because like work and stuff. And the friend I always went with, she started a new job where she worked weird shifts, and so we just couldn't get together as much. And I stopped going. Yeah, haven't been very often.
Go!
Yes. So like 65. Okay.
I was never very good at the skate park, but I was very proud when I first went down the pump track at Le Taz in Montreal, because it was very, very tall. And standing at the edge, I still don't know what possessed me to actually go off the ledge. I had to climb up a ladder to get to the top of the pump track. Very out of character for me to go off that ramp.
Okay, go! Yay! Bye!
I'm real gentle about it. So I haven't really been back regularly. I'd go once or twice a year with people, which is weird because like a lot of people go now, and it's like once everyone started going is when I stopped going. I wouldn't say that like I'm back to park skating. I went to a park in Victoria this summer when I was visiting my sister. They had a pump track and I mostly did the pump track. I didn't even do the skate park. Yay! There was a skate shop there where you can rent a private ramp rental for an hour for $30. That was really fun because I could just like do stupid things for an hour and there was no one else there. I was laughing, yes. Okay. I was laughing because it was like so stupid.
My name is Emily. My derby name is 1 in a Million, and my current role is president of ORD. I've been skating for 8 years, so I coached for a couple of years. For her as a coach, one of the things that sticks out the most for me is when I had started skating, I still am very, very timid with skating, but I was extremely timid with skating. And one of these skills that we had to do was jumping. And it, again, scared the pants off of me. I wanted to pee on the track every time. And so I kept avoiding it the longest time. Like I wouldn't jump the noodle. I wouldn't get anywhere close to the bag. I would sort of jump a line. And eventually what Ven did was she had the noodles on the track and she had the bag on the track. And she herded everyone away from it and pretty much forced me, although I had the option of skating around it, but was encouraging me to skate and jump the bag. And it was her getting everybody out of the way without actually saying like, get out of the way so Emily can do this, and not drawing attention to it, but making the environment to encourage me to do it. And I actually jumped the bag. And I sent her a message afterwards saying, you know, if she hadn't done that for me, I never would have done it. And I was just really grateful for her taking the time and the effort to get me to get to that skill and be able to do it.
When did I turn coach? I like 6 years ago.
And what is it like coaching with them?
It's so good. It's beautiful about having a teacher as a coach. She comes with all of these skills and all of this knowledge from being a teacher. She knows how to manage a group of people, even though we're not children, but sometimes we act like them. But it's nice to have that kind of perspective of somebody that's sort of confident in that role. And so then she helps sort of encourage that. And yeah, so she's always really down to earth, very reasonable, very respectful, always with like, what's the best for everyone.
My very first game that I ever played was many, many years ago, and I had just been cleared for full contact, and I was like peeing my pants that I was going to be doing this, and I was trying to figure every possible way out of this, because as much as I wanted to do it, I didn't want to do it, and I'm glad I did. And Ven was really encouraging. It was calming down all of us because we were all brand new to this, and it was our first game ever. And she was just a really calming force, and she had gone and spoken to the other team. We were playing Babyrish. And she went and spoke to them and said, you know, we've got a lot of new players on our team. And they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. And she wound up going back a second time and be like, you know, like when I say they're new, like what they're really, really new. I think on the entire team, 4 had already played before, and the rest of us, it was our first game. So it was really, really nice that Ven went to go talk to them to explain how new we were. And not that we wanted them to go easy on us, but just to understand where we were coming from. They beat us like 500 to 30 or some ridiculous number like that. But the entire time, Ven was super encouraging, and even though it was such a defeating loss, we all still had a really great time. And it was, I think it's because of Ven that we actually had a really, really great first game, and that for me, because I went into it so scared, and that it was just a really comforting presence and somebody who was looking out for us and making sure that we were having fun but being safe, and a really great experience that I kind of stuck with it. Otherwise, I don't know, I probably would have peed my pants on the track and never gone back out of embarrassment and the discomfort of all those different aspects.
Hi, London Vlog here. Our dear Coach Potato. I started at ORD in 2015 and I was not the greatest skater, very nervous, but Coach Potato always seemed to know without me even saying what I needed in that moment to help me try a skill, overcome some fears, and always supportive, always encouraging. She seemed to know exactly where to push me so I can improve, but also when to back off when it was too much.
The Northeast Roller Derby convention. I went twice and I had gone with my coach at the time, Emmy, and it was really cool because it was like all of these top skaters that you only ever see like in videos. It's like Smarty Pants, Bonnie Destroyer at Blue Demon, Quadzilla, Demanda Riot one day. I like didn't know who she was, but I was like going over to the chairs to take my skates off or something, and this like giant of a woman came over and she was like, "Have you seen a mangled piece of metal that looks like a cell phone over here?" And I was like, no. And then after, Emmy was like, "That was Demanda Riot." And I was like, ah. But yeah, we got to interact with all these like famous derby skaters. So I did a bunch of workshops with Smarty Pants. I had made a goal to do something that was really scary each of the days we were there. And so I was in a Smarty Pants workshop and we were talking about colliding, and she asked for a volunteer and I was like, "Oh yeah, me," because I was trying to be brave. And so she chose me, and then she like came in, and I'm sure for her it was like a gentle brush by, but like I'm pretty sure her butt punched me harder than I was expecting, and I like went flying backwards and landed on my butt. And then she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I was like, "No, it's cool. I probably just could have squatted. I promise I know how to skate, and let me try again." We did it again and it was fine the second time. The basic skills weren't that hard for me. Sticky skating, because I couldn't move my hips. They were like, "Just move your hips," and I was like, "I can't," and I had to just use my shoulders. Jamming came pretty naturally to me because it was literally like survival instinct.
You watched like pulled me aside when practicing, and it was like, "Oh, so have you thought about going around people and like avoiding hits rather than just be like." And I was like, "Oh, that's a thing that I could do. I hadn't thought of that."
Blocking was hard for me. Blocking was like getting in people's way on purpose, and like putting my body in danger was a little bit harder for me to master. I learned blocking by presenting my back, and actually when I started, no one blocked backwards. And my boyfriend at the time was like, "I don't understand why you guys just don't turn around and block with your chest." And I was like trying to make up reasons because I was like, "We know what we're doing, leave us alone, you don't even play this sport." And then like 2 months later, I think Gotham or some other team started blocking with their chests, and I was like, "Okay, fine, yeah, I guess it's a thing, but I don't want to do it." I still don't like blocking with my chest, not because of that, because like I don't like it. It's too close. My face is too close to other people's faces. I don't like catching someone going full speed on my chest. I tried to work on it with Frank one day, and I was like, "Just come at me, I'm trying something new." Skating backwards with them a little bit and then quickly flipping onto my side to catch them. And he started skating towards me, and I was like, "No, never mind, I changed my mind, I'm scared." And he stopped skating, and I was like, "Why did you stop skating?" He's like, "You told me to stop." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sorry. I might just scream that I'm scared a few times, but you can keep going." So yeah, I didn't practice that very successfully because I just kept screaming at people and then they'd stop, which might be a good strategy for me. Sometimes I will let the jammer go if I think that they could hurt me. If they're coming in like really hot and I don't necessarily trust that they will be able to avoid like a really bad back block, then I will just step out of their way and be like, "Yeah, no, never mind, that's fine." I'd rather lose points than get injured again. I had a concussion and whiplash when someone hit me from behind on the base of my neck, and I fell forwards. I fell, my head snapped back and then back forward again, and I went to the medic and they were like, "Oh, it's probably just bruised, you can go back in the game." Anne-Marie was like, "No, that's okay. There's only 6 minutes left. You're fine." Like a year later, we realized that I probably had a concussion. I hadn't realized at the time, but it was because Emmy was like, "Yeah, I knew something was wrong when you didn't get up right away in that fall." And I was like, "I did get up right away." She was like, "No, like that's the longest I've ever seen you stay down before getting up. Like I don't know if I blacked out or something and didn't realize it." And then a couple days later, coaching in shoes, and I was teaching people how to jump, and I was talking about how you want to think about pushing off with your toes, and then my brain forgot to tell my toes to flatten out again before I landed, so I landed flat on my toes like this and broke my toe. And then we had a game the following Saturday, which I played in because we didn't know I had a concussion. I just taped my toes together.
It's amazing to see her as a jammer. She hasn't jammed in a few years, but she does a really, really good job of it. She's jukey. She looks for the hole. She knows the strategy. So even if the coach isn't telling her when she should be calling it off, she's calling it off at the right times.
8246 Big McFanny Pack.
What a name. She tiptoed the line. She got out super fast.
Easy peasy, she stayed out.
I like to play all positions. I started out as a jammer.
Kingston is now out of the pack as well, so I believe she's going to get through and try and call it off. I can hear the bench coach yelling to call it off.
I saw that.
But she's going to go around now for the points because Kingston is in the pack gaining points as well.
I'm surprised she's not listening to her bench.
Well, you get sometimes so focused as a jammer that you just don't hear very much. That and the noise level in the Memorial Center is quite loud today.
Yes.
She's an amazing blocker at the same time. Like, her butt is glued to other people's crotch. As weird as it is to say.
And then I wanted to develop my blocking skills, so I started blocking.
People came in and they were really good jammers, and I was like, oh, well, they should jam then because they're better than me.
I like playing pivot because you have the potential to jam or block at any given moment. But I think with PBJ, I will play any position.
Eventually, we'll all be jammers.
Next year, all jammers, no blockers.
All jammers and blockers will all be PBJ. They'll never know who's coming out in what position. I think the people who know me the best in terms of on the track are Baywatch and Emily, 1 in a million, because we've played together before, we've coached together, and so they're probably the most comfortable people to play with because we all kind of know what the other person is going to be doing. Baywatch knows that I will always chase the jammer, so I remember one year her goal was like to just like go with me when I start running away because she knows that I'm going to need a bridge. I think it is really important jamming and blocking to have that understanding of who's going to do what when. I found that like pivoting or even like jamming, the exchange of the jammer star to the pivot, if you don't know what the other person is going to do, it's really difficult.
I really like playing on lines with Ben because she knows what's going on and she's really good with track awareness. So she knows where the jammer is. She's really good at communicating that.
Oh, it was great. It was so nice to have a mix of fresher players and then also really experienced players like Ben. I could be wrong. This could be a dream I had, but I seem to remember blocking with her. But when I was blocking with her, she just told me what to do, and I was just so grateful because I don't know what I'm doing when I'm blocking, and she's good at giving instructions, so it was really great.
And helping us stay in position. So it's okay. Come for front, here, move there.
I think after 14 years, I can kind of see plays happen. I understand the strategy a little more than I did when I started. At the beginning, it was just like chaos. I couldn't really see what was happening, and now I can explain to people what's happening.
And it stays really calm at the same time, so it helps encourage calmness for the rest of us, but also we know what we should be doing because there's a calm person that knows what he's doing, helping to encourage us.
Someone try to keep everyone else calm if we're not already doing that.
I am the most veteran skater in the league. Yes, I'm the grandma.
Means that I looked tired and I was not. So
I definitely should be a better skater and player than I am. I'm okay usually with the fact that I'm not.
Are you filming right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't listen to Ven talk about herself because she makes it seem like she's a terrible player and doesn't know what she's doing. But then you see her and you're like, what are you talking about, Ven? You're amazing. If I could have like a fraction of your skill.
It's true.
I think for me, I have to prove to myself that I can do something to be confident. It doesn't matter what other people say. Because, I mean, people are really nice. They tell me all the time that I'm a good skater. I need to see and feel the proof for myself.
People ask me how long I've been skating and I don't like to tell them. Everyone's development is different, and so I don't want to say that I've been skating for 14 years because that like implies that I should be pretty good. So I'm always like 14 years but like I'm not very good. Or I say 14 years but like we didn't have seasons every year, so I haven't actually played 14 seasons. I always have like a little disclaimer. But other people have played for like 2 years and they're better than me, so part of that for sure was just been around so long that people expect me to be able to do stuff. I feel like the expectation is kind of high. And so that is part of the reason that I've plateaued also, is that I'm afraid of trying new things like 100% and then not being able to do them. Also just because like typically when I learn a new skill, I can do it right away. And so when I can't, I'm like, logically, I'm like, no, just work harder, you can do it. But then, you know, we're human, and so it's like a little embarrassing when I can't do it and I get a little frustrated and then feel like maybe I'm not actually a good skater for a moment. Although I have been pretty good lately about practicing skills on my own that scare me. No one cares if it takes you a while to learn a skill. I just care that people can see that I can't do something. Yeah, I started coaching pretty soon after I started skating. And there was a point that I remember that I was coaching so much. I was coaching more than I was skating. So that is, I think, one of the reasons I plateaued. But also, I found that when I was feeling insecure about like my derby playing, I would use the excuse of being a coach to take myself out of scrimmage practice. I would be like, oh, I'm just gonna help coach. And I would like step back, and then that didn't help because then I wasn't developing my skills. And it was because I was afraid that I wasn't very good, but then like it's just this vicious cycle of if you don't think you're that good and then you don't practice, you're not gonna get better. I have felt that I was in a plateau for, I probably felt like I've plateaued like 6 years ago. I mean, there had been like mini plateaus in between, but then I would like go to a training camp and I'd like get all excited again and I would try to push myself, or I'd have a coach who was trying to push me. The new skids on the block do training camps, and so I've been a couple of times. And yeah, there was one day that we were doing Russian circles and Miracle Lips came by and gave me like a bit of coaching, and then I took her coaching and I just kept practicing, and then at one point she like appeared behind me with her phone. She was filming it. I think she was filming it for their Instagram, showing what we were doing in the classes. And part of it was that we were also supposed to be filming ourselves so that we could review the tape after.
My name is Nathalie, and my roller derby name was Peanut Butter. I say was because eventually in the league they started all calling me Mama, and the reason being that I had like stuff in my purse that they would need, or being French, they call me Mama and not Mom.
I've been lucky, and some of our other coaches have noticed and they try to push me in different ways. One of our coaches, Mama, a few years ago, she noticed that I wasn't proving like I should have been, and maybe she noticed I was kind of losing a passion for the sport.
You're one of the best of the league. At one point you plateau because there's nobody to push you. You're always helping others, but who's helping you? You do have to go out of comfort zone. Going to another league, for example, and practicing with people that are way better than you does help.
And she was like, you know, you have to play at a higher level. And so I don't know how she did it. She convinced Canas to let me play for Les Bûches. And I was like, are you paying her? Like, what's happening? But anyway, it happened. Darcy and I both got to play with them.
They take players from different leagues and they just make up a team.
And our first game, there were some of the skids. Maj, Falcon Punch, maybe Katie Kaboom were in that first game.
Wearing the same jersey as them was really a big accomplishment.
And everyone went to change their wheels after the warm-up because the floor was super slippery. And I didn't bring other wheels, so I was like, well, I guess I'll just stay out here. And Falcon Punch and Maj hadn't gone because I guess they had the right wheels on. And they were sitting on the bench, and I was so nervous that I just sat on the floor because I was like, I probably can't sit on the bench with them. That seems unreasonable. Darcy came back and she was like, why are you sitting on the floor? I was like, I don't know. You left me alone. So, you know, that was fun. As developing skaters, I got to play if we were up in points. Like if at any point the spread wasn't like 50 to 100, I'd just sit and let the skids do their thing. And then they'd go out for 2 jams and we'd be up another 50 points and then they'd get to play again.
I've played in games with they bush before where they show up with a lot of high-level skaters. I have jammed with Falcon Punch as my pivot, and let me tell you, skating is a lot easier when Falcon Punch is your pivot. I'm like, oh no, I'm approaching the pack, and she would take one to one side, one to the other, clear 4 people in a beautiful formation, and just give me the entire middle to take up. So if you ever want to have a really easy win in a roller derby game, you should probably play with members of the Skids.
They were like super nice though, and the coach was super nice, and they were like, at certain points if we were up, they're like, if anyone wants to try jamming, they can jam, which I did not. The floor was like super slippery that first game, and the first time I tried to chase a jammer out of the track, I was doing a crossover, but my foot didn't stop sliding, and I ended up just like sideways in the air and fell down. It's like, I swear I know how to skate. Then another game, Katie Kaboom was on my line, and she was like super nice. And I told her, like, sometimes I get scared and move out of the way if the jammer's coming in really hard, so hold me in place. She was like, okay. And then at one point, it was at halftime, she was like, I don't think I'm communicating well enough. I'm gonna try to improve that. And I was like, no, you are. I'm just not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just too slow. And she's like, no, I think it's me. Sure, yes, you play for the Skids, but it's definitely your fault that I am not blocking effectively. Like, they were just very, very nice people. It was really fun to play with them.
I was blown away. I mean, it shouldn't surprise when Ven played for Les Bruches, and the first time I got to see her play on that team was also very impressive. That again, she's with other Montreal Skids players, and she's like right along with them, and she's keeping pace, and she's helping out, and she's, you know, doing her job. I'm pretty sure she only played as a blocker for that one, but again, it was cool to see her play for Les Bruches and knowing that it's a really good and really strong team, and it's a good spot for her because she's that good.
And Louise said that I played differently when I play for them. And I was like, what? And someone said, how do we get her to play like that for us? Louise was like, we got to challenge her more.
I think it helped her to see what she could do. That being said, it's okay to be in a recreational league, and it's okay not to be competitive. It's always good to challenge yourself once in a while, and I'm really proud of her for that. It was really a proud mama moment.
And then I got another concussion, but it felt like someone punched the back of my helmet, and immediately I was like, ooh, that's not good. I feel like that might be a concussion, so I crawled off the track, and I was just sitting off the track because we had some ORD people, and I like crawled over and I just sat next to Frank in the crowd, and he was like, are you okay? I was like, yep. And I'm waving to the medics trying to get their attention, but they didn't see me. And Mama told me after that on the bench she was asking where I was, and one of the players was like, oh, she just went over there to take a break. And she was like, that's not a thing. And then finally the medics noticed me and came over, and they were like, oh, one of your pupils isn't reacting as quickly as the other one. Is that normal for you? That was my worst concussion. I ended up with symptoms for a while. I'm just going to talk about Camp Roller Derby because it was one of the funnest things that has come out of roller derby for me, which was an adult summer camp. It used to be at Camp Eden Woods in Haliburton, Ontario. And so it's a kids summer camp, but at the end of the summer, there's a weekend after all the kids have left, and we got to go and invade the camp. And it was basically just a kids sleepaway camp, but with all of your adult friends. And it was so fun. I went for 3 summers, and then COVID hit, and it hasn't happened since. But just like, that's one of the best things that has come out of roller derby for me, was because I never went to sleepaway summer camp. So I got to do that with all of my friends. We used to always do a Christmas party with a gift exchange. There was one year that we had like an end of season party with awards, and we've done watching parties and things like that. And then camp. Did we have a Christmas party this year? I feel like the Christmas party was back. No? Did we not have a Christmas party? Then in fact, no, nothing came back. It was interesting during the pandemic because obviously we couldn't practice. It's a very close contact sport. I was maybe on the more cautious side, just based on my nature, but also because my mom, who is in her 70s, lives in my house with me, and I didn't want to bring anything home to her. I'm not sure how far into the pandemic it was, but I remember I was still wearing a cloth mask and I hadn't moved on to N95, so maybe within the first year. We were meeting like at an outdoor rink at City Hall, and a few of us were just going to do practice like far away from each other, but all still skating and seeing each other. So that was nice. We kept in touch. We did things like workouts online. I made some workout videos so people could skate like in their communities outside at parks and things and still keep up their skills.
I'm Ven's #1 fan. I love her
concentration.
What's your derby name?
I don't have one yet.
Okay, your derby name is No Mercy.
Maybe. Maybe, yeah. No Mercy? Yeah, no mercy.
No Mercy.
How long have you been with Orgy?
A year and a half, almost, not 2. She looks scary the first time you meet her, and then she does cute little videos flipping unicorns. Tina was making a video about Ordy's pets, and then showed us a video she made about her little puppets for concussion prevention, I think. And then Facebook will recommend other videos from the same person, so I just binged all her like 2014 videos. I binged all her videos. Maybe not all of her videos. I was kidding.
Strange hobby, which started out during the pandemic when we were home and I was teaching online. I have a collection of puppets randomly just because I like them. And then I started making music videos for the kids because that seemed more fun. When the pandemic happened and we were told to wear masks, I decided maybe I would just make a video about wearing masks and I'll put it out to the world. And then after that, I was just like, what else can I make a video about that could be helpful? So I did one about wearing a helmet and helmet safety. There wasn't really a purpose. It was mostly for fun and then to share with my students and the league and whoever else wants to watch it.
And then when I came back from the pandemic, I was like, you know what else is something I've never considered about a rec league? Is that if I can't make all the practices, I actually don't have to. Because pre-pandemic, I was going to every single practice. And like, if there was a social event on a day that I had practice, I would miss the social event with my friends because I'd be like, oh, sorry, I have derby. And coming back from the pandemic, I was like, you know, if I'm gonna be in a rec league, I gotta take advantage of the advantages, which is like, yeah, if a party comes up, I'm gonna go to the party that day and miss practice, and it's not gonna be a big deal because we're not a competitive team. I feel like for a while it was like being in a cult, but like not in that dramatic way of being in a cult, but like it didn't occur to me to leave. There was like a point when my coach, Emmy, was leaving and I was like, whoa, I'm probably not gonna stay once Emmy leaves because like Emmy's the reason I'm here. Even when I told my mom that Emmy was leaving, she was like, oh, are you gonna quit derby? Isn't the league just gonna fall apart? Doesn't she just run everything? And like, yes, she did. But Mama came in and then she started running everything. So I was like, okay, I'm staying until Mama leaves. And then she left. And then I was like, and I think that's really when I started wavering, when I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep doing this. But then she came back. So it was the people, and I've made a lot of friends at derby. Often friends who don't play derby anymore, when people ask like, how do you know each other? It's because we've played derby together. I would say like almost all of my friends are from derby. Yeah, I think it's just like a really nice way to meet a really large group of people. Like you got a big sample size when you have a big league. So like you're gonna be friends with someone probably in the league. Possibly also like there's a lot of close physical contact, so you get comfortable with people a little bit faster than you might if you meet them elsewhere. And just like our league, I find is just, it's very welcoming, and we try to do things outside of practice. After practice, we'd just chat in parking lots, and then we'd be like, oh, we've been standing in this parking lot for 3 hours, it's probably time to go home. Like it was just, it's like a built-in social experience. Derby was my gateway drug to sports, I guess. I hadn't done sports before, so I really appreciate Derby for opening up the world of sports and athletics, because once I started Derby, then I was more open to like, there was a fitness class at work, so I started doing that fitness class, and now I've been doing that fitness class for 12 years. And then I started doing breakdance, I did a little bit of hip hop, I did a little bit of tap, started race walking. Derby to me was like a very nice introduction to sports and athletics, because at the time there weren't junior roller derby teams, so it was like you could come into it without a sports background because everyone was new to the sport. I was on the boat poster last year, and I think it was one of the only times we had like a giant physical poster. So now there's a giant poster of me in my own basement, which is cool, except for when people come to like fix my furnace, and then there's just a giant picture of me on the wall. It's a little embarrassing. My nature is to want to learn to do things right, and I want the technique to be solid. So I don't mind taking things slow and learning it if I'm doing it right. And I also like to be corrected if I'm not doing it right. So I like when coaches give me feedback. Some of the coaches, I think because I've been around so long, at practice they feel like they don't have to give me feedback because they're like, oh, Ben knows what she's doing. But I actually would appreciate someone to be like, why are you doing that thing? That's really weird. And when Kim started coaching, there was one practice where they were like, are you doing that thing on purpose? And I was like, no, like it would be great if you guys told me when I was doing things that look weird, because probably not. And they're like, oh, okay. But I find that I still don't get that much feedback, and I don't know if it's because I usually do the skills properly, or if it's because they're just like, oh, it's Ben. She probably has a reason to be doing that really weird thing right now. I've told the coaches before that I am a little bit defensive, so when they give me feedback, my first response will be a defensive statement, but for them to just ignore that, because then I'll take it in and I'll use it and fix it.
Earlier this year, Coach Potato was off for a few months due to injury. She continued to coach off skates.
I was off for 2 or 3 months, I think. Yeah, that's the longest I've ever been off, and it was recently. It was this spring. I tore my meniscus. That caused a Baker's cyst in my knee. Yeah, I had to be off from like stop and go and quick changes of direction type sports, which is derby. I also was diagnosed with compartment syndrome in my shins, which doesn't directly affect derby, but until we figured out what it was, I was told to kind of lay off of exercise, so I was off for that too. So I have chronic exertional compartment syndrome. Chronic exertional compartment syndrome is just when your fascia isn't built the same way as most people's. So most people's fascia is like saran wrap. And so when your muscles expand, which they do about 20% when you exert yourself, your fascia expands with it. But the doctor explained to me that my fascia is more like waxed paper. And so when my muscles expand, my fascia doesn't expand with it, so my muscles kind of get squished up against the fascia.
Have you taken up any other activities while off skates?
I've really been just enjoying not having things to do. So I haven't replaced derby with other activities. I've literally just been like, oh my gosh, I get to come home from work and eat dinner and sit on the couch instead of going straight from work and either packing dinner to eat right before practice or picking up food on the way to practice, going home, showering, going to bed, and going back to work the next day.
Jammers have a special club.
Maybe this is like a jammer coat. We'll just get Van, who will now also be a jammer.
Yeah.
Like we'll just all wear really cool coats.
But yeah, recently I'm like, hey, you know what? Actually, I should get to jam if I want to, because we're in a rec league and no one cares if we win anyway. I should just get to play the position I want to play, because I would encourage anyone else to do that. So like, I should do it for myself too.
Real name is Alyssa. I go by Allie. My derby name is Allie Cat. That one was my first official Blackhearts game. I felt like I did some good blocking in that game. I didn't jam, but I think I decided at that point I wanted to start jamming. Like watching Aaron do it, I was like, I want to do that.
Coach Potato, Mama Bird, and Mean Bean are carpooling to Sherbrooke, Quebec for a low-contact bout. Coach Potato will be bench coach for this bout. She is joined on the bench by fellow coach Baywatch, Director of Skater Development, or otherwise known as Head Coach. They have agreed to be mic'd during the bout for the documentary.
So cute. I'm a baby mic. Very professional.
Hi, my name is Ben, and I can't figure out how to wear a microphone. I was talking to Bean. 2 months, still can't figure out how to put a microphone on. You can do it. You did it.
Ben said, like, we gotta be mindful of what we say. I'm like, but you know. Ben said, yes. Yeah, just said, like, we might have, like, good things that we said. And I'm like, apart from, like, why are they on the back again?
Black, front! Front! Why did we stop blocking? Keep blocking!
Can we tell, like, random jokes for Bean? Just like, tell the dance what to do.
2 pretzels were walking down the street. 1 was assaulted. Doing great, everyone. You having fun yet? You got it, you got it. You got it. Yes, good last jam. That was good. Good job, team. Good job.
Just had some complaints about contact.
I think I became more assertive through derby.
Our players have said it's like a little more full contact than low.
It's a sport about taking space.
Okay, we've now complained about the contact level, so we'd better be low contact the whole time. Otherwise, we look like jerks. So make sure you're not hitting.
And so that, I think for a lot of our players, that translates into their lives of being able to take space in a world where women especially are kind of told to stay in their lane. Like, no, I think I'm just going to do what I want to do over here and be as big as I want to be about it.
My derby name is Dramalamas. Almost been a year since I started crush course. I'm at level 1. I met Ben at my crush course. She was one of the coaches, and at first I felt kind of intimidated because she was so good, but I feel like I just really look up to her now, and I think she's amazing. And I love how confidently weird she is. Because I'm like that too, but I keep it hidden, and I want to just kind of like throw it out there now.
Black gold! Gold!
I do still consider myself shy, and I think it's a bit of a problem when we have new skaters because I won't necessarily go out of my way to chat with them, but they'll see me chatting with the people I'm comfortable with, and then it looks like I'm just snobby and staying with my clique, but it's really just because I'm scared of new people sometimes.
My derby name is Hot Momster. When I first met Ben, I was super intimidated because she comes across really serious and really quiet. But then as I got to know her and saw her more practices, that goofy side of her started coming out more. We were practicing jumping, which is terrifying, and we were in level 1. And we were all jumping, and then out of nowhere, Ben's like, look at my little bunnies just hopping along. And it just totally lightened the mood. And then everyone like had a giggle, and then it just kind of helped ease the tension in the room. Now that I know her, it's not so scary, and I see her as more silly. She's so easygoing. It just puts me more at ease. Never taking anything too seriously, never takes herself too seriously.
Whoop, I'm in the penalty box. Not allowed in the box, but I'm allowed to do this right outside the box. I just realized Bean got that.
And now with Ben, I want her to yell at me.
Corey, call it off! Call it off! Call it off!
I also find that because I've had to meet so many new people, and it's difficult because I started teaching and playing derby at around the same time. So I can't tell if it's one or the other, but I am much better at speaking with strangers, and I'm not as shy as I used to be.
So I have a fun derby memory.
Oh, yeah. That time you tried not to be my partner. Is that what you're talking about?
It was very early level 2, and they were like, okay, mix level 2s and 3s.
Yeah, we were at practice, and they were like, level 2s pair with a level 3.
I'm like, oh God. And it was transition to chest block, which is very scary. And I'm like, one, transitions are scary. And then chest blocking somebody who's right behind you, terrifying. So like, I'm looking around, I'm like, oh my God, who's the least scary level 3 here? I make eye contact with Ben.
And you looked right at me, and we made eye contact.
That is terrifying. I look away.
Then you tried to be someone else's partner.
And then Ben was like far enough away from me. You look far too, like you're not.
Yeah, but you looked right in my eyeballs, and I looked right in your eyeballs. Like that's how you make partners.
Is that how that works?
Yes. And I was like, hey, and I called you out on it.
And then she's like, Bean, I saw you make eye contact with me. And I'm like, oh, sorry.
Because like, I want to be your partner.
She's like, look at Rena, she's fine. Rena's athletic and fit, amazing skater, was maroon, like sweating. Like, I just paired with her, she's fine. I'm like, I am so dead. Like, this is like brutal. Ben is very strong. Like, Ben is very slim, but like a brick house. And I was, yeah, she did not let me like push her very easily. And again, I consider myself strong. I could barely move her. Like, she is strong. So it was brutal. And it happened again that same practice. I don't know why. And it was completely by accident. I remember I looked up again. It was another partner with a level 3 thing. And again, I looked up and made eye contact with her. It happened twice that practice too.
I know. I don't know. And like the first time went fine. I don't know why you tried to escape me again.
She pointed it out again. No, well, because I was looking for a friendly face. Yeah. Like, who could, like, where's Gloria? Where's Gloria?
I was intimidated by you. Well, everybody there was good, obviously, but, like, you're exceptionally good. And also someone who's not a coach.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
When I first met Ven, she was one of the coaches, and she kind of reminded me of a tiger mom, like my tiger mom, because she came across as knowing exactly what she wanted and was very strict and firm, and actually it worked really well for me. I was like, okay, Mom. I mean, Ven. Ven reminds me of my mom.
No, actually,
I love my mom.
Being coached by Ven is so much fun. Ven has a dry sense of humor, and she is just so deadpan and straight to the point.
Black, low and slow. Not that low.
I love it.
We're getting messy, and the refs are worried about safety. It's a close game, and both teams are getting messy because we're getting too intense. So we're gonna take it down, and we play better when we're just calm and slow anyway, so just slow it down. Why are we all chests? Get a butt. Why are we all up there? What are we doing up there? Black, what are you doing up there? Why are you there? Why are you there? Not with this jammer. Not with this jammer. They're like, I don't know why. I was like, why are you there then? Oh, because Baywatch told us. Okay, it's fine. We're not good when we're fast. We fall apart. We can't go fast for this jammer. They're all just gonna go, she's faster than us.
I'm hoping they can keep the front for 20 seconds.
We can't. We're gonna go up and we're gonna fall apart, and she's fast. She's gonna blast through us. Yeah, they're gonna be in the apex when she comes by. And I was thinking about it ahead of time, and it's kind of like, if you give your skaters the wrong call, it could cost them the game. And I think it's just more obvious for coaches. Like, if the coach makes a bad call, everyone knows it. But it's not like the skaters haven't made mistakes during the game. So the coaches should also be able to make mistakes during the game, but it doesn't feel like we have that same flexibility to not be perfect. We're done. Good job, team. The game tonight was excellent. Our team played super well. They worked really well together. I gave them direction at one point to just be calm, slow, low, just trap the jammer. And every time they followed that instruction, the jammer was trapped, and it was wonderful. So when we coach, obviously, like, we have to be at the practice that we're coaching. Depending on how many coaches there are, you could be coaching one practice a week, once every 2 weeks, 2 in a week, depends on what's going on. Planning, it depends on the coach again. When I first started, I was like writing out full lesson plans with like, from 7 o'clock to 7:10, we're doing this drill. Like, I started realizing it wasn't the best use of my time, because I would like plan a wonderful practice for like specific people who wanted to work on specific things, and then those people wouldn't be at practice. And so either I would coach that practice, but then have to coach it again when they were there, or I'd have to change my whole practice. So I typically like look at the skills I'm supposed to be teaching, and then I show up and I look at who's there. I just make stuff up on the spot, which is my style. I know Bethany doesn't like to do that. Bethany likes to have her plan written out. So for her, running a practice takes a lot more time than it does for me. I have no idea how many years I was director of skater development. It used to be head coach, because the board used to run differently. So I was assistant head coach for like a year. And then at one point our head coach had stepped down to take a break, but she was really bad at taking a break. So like she was back 2 weeks later. So I was head coach for like 2 weeks. And then I think I might have been head coach again for, who even knows, like 2 years, 3 years. And then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I was back on the board when it changed to director of skater development. And then I was like, never again. And then during the pandemic, Caro was president at the time, and no one was running for skater development. And she was like, it's the pandemic, you don't even have to do anything. And then little did I know that was the year we were going back. And so that was the last time. I was like, okay, no, we're done. I'm not doing this anymore. No, I didn't. Oh, I did. I did do it again. I didn't want to. And after 2 days, I messaged Baywatch and I was like, I don't want this, take it back. But she was in Africa, so there's nothing I could do about it. The thing about director of skater development is it's not that bad. I really don't like doing assessments, and that like falls on you as like your thing. You have to make sure that all of the practices are staffed, so you have to keep on top of the calendar. And I was really bad about it when I was in that position, because if a practice wasn't staffed, I would just coach the practice, which is how I ended up coaching a lot when I had that role. I feel like there's just a lot of feelings that people need to share when you're in that position, and I'm happy to coach and I can deal with your feelings within the practice, but once we leave practice, like I deal with a lot of feelings at work. I just like to set boundaries.
In every organization that kind of thrives off of volunteers,
giving their time. There's going to be a kind of situation where there's a sort of like 15% of people who are doing 90% of the work is sort of how it tends to be. And that's okay. That's life, right? But a lot of the time I do think it creates a kind of situation where people have, a lot of opinions about how you are giving your time and energy and to some degree expertise. I mean, I was never an expert skater or derby player, and I never pretended to be, but it can be a bit challenging to feel like you're giving so much and then have, a lot of people sort of have the reaction of, well, I don't like the way you're doing that, or I think you should do it differently. But I definitely understand why it burns a lot of people out, right? And if people feel like they're giving a lot and it's not being appreciated, sometimes it feels like the criticism is so loud.
I feel like the term burnt out wasn't accurate for what I was feeling in June. It's hard too, because like my job is teaching. Coaching's kind of an extension of what I do all day. And so there are days where if like it's been a really hard week, that maybe I don't really feel like teaching some more after when I'm really tired. Most of the time it's fun because I can't help myself from bossing people around anyway. Yeah, this year, because of the space, it was 3 or 4 practices a week that we needed a coach for. And it was just, I think that contributed to it. It felt like derby was taking up too much of my time when I'm also trying to do other things. Like if it was my only extracurricular, it would be okay. But like trying to work other things into the schedule that I wanted to do, it wasn't really feasible. When you first start derby, a lot of people are like, derby's my life now. And like skating is the most fun thing you could imagine doing in your entire life. It's like part of the derby culture, I guess. And like some people keep that and it's like a really big part of their identity that like I play derby, I'm a derby girl. And that was true for me for like the first 2-3 years maybe, that I was like super intense. And then like over time it was like, this is a hobby I like to do. This is a sport that I play. I think it's normal to like at a certain point calm down about it. People have said to me like, oh, that's really sad that you've like lost your passion and you just think of it as a hobby. And I'm like, well, it's not sad. It's just that I have other things in my life that I also care about. It's not my number one focus right now. But like I still like it. I still like practicing. Playing, it's fine. And I didn't want to deal with like too many feelings outside of practice. I didn't really want to hear about stuff after. And part of that is when we do the assessment, I often assess like 4 or 5 skaters at a time. And then after I leave, I have to type up everyone's feedback and send it to them. So that's like a huge chunk of time. And it's a chunk of time of something I don't enjoy doing. Even as a teacher, evaluations are like my least favorite part. I just want to do the actual teaching. I don't want to do the actual coaching. I don't really want to do the like talking about it after. So we go up and then we write up our things and we send it to people, and then people have feelings about their assessments that then we have to talk through, which is fine and natural that they have those feelings. It's just like at certain points, I feel like it's too much of encroaching into my life. I just want to go and coach and then come home and worry about my job and my own life and not so much the coaching when I'm at home. And so I had decided to take September off as an official coach, but I had said like, I can still run practices. I will still coach a practice, but I don't want to go to coaches meetings and talk about stuff. I'm not really interested in doing that right now because it's too much. You don't want to do assessments and have to go home and type up everything and then talk through them with people. Just want to coach the practice, which is a lot to ask because it's putting a lot on the other coaches, but I just needed a little break from everything.
It was not an easy decision to make, to be honest. I had a period of time where I was going to practice less and less, and it was starting to feel kind of like an obligation and not necessarily like something that I was really excited about. But I was really cognizant of the fact that like when I was coming to practice, I was not bringing my best self, which is kind of a bummer for the people who love coming and are really looking forward to it all week. And then I show up and I'm like in a shit mood because I kind of didn't want to come, but I felt like I had to. I was like, I'm taking some time off. I decided that I was gonna take leave as a skater and also take a break from coaching, and I was just gonna mentally pretend like I had quit and just see how it felt. And it felt so good. It felt really good. I felt like I had a lot more energy and a lot more free time.
I'm sad that Baywatch has stepped down as a coach because I like her as a coach and she'll yell at me, but I'm not concerned because she'll yell at me even if she's not a coach. But like, I understand that it was taking up a lot of her time and she has like professional aspirations that need her focus. So sad for us, happy for her.
Due to personal reasons, at the end of June, she told me that she was going to be resigning as director of skater development and as a coach as well. And I saw all the effort and time and hours that Baywatch put into it. And I was really glad that we had Baywatch at the helm, as it were, because those are really big shoes to fill. She's extremely organized. She knows the ins and outs of the league. She's been here a long time, and I was quite happy to continue learning under her. And the other two coaches in the meeting not me, they all looked at me and said, well, you wanted it. I was interested in the position of director of skater development last year, and I did run for it, but I didn't win. I was okay with that. That's how it happened. I took over when Baywatch retired. It was hard to take over mid-season, but I feel like we got through it. I had a lot of excellent help and support from the league and the other board members. Baywatch retired and Ven is taking a break.
Yeah, so it was funny because Baywatch and I had talked like personally about how we were both feeling and like maybe we needed a break from coaching. And I had said like probably in September, because in September like my work is really busy, so that might be a good time for me to take a little break. And then summer sometime she called a meeting and she was like, I'm stepping down effective like in 2 weeks. I was like, dude, like I was gonna announce that I was taking a break and now you've done it and now like I can't do it, but I did. I was like, also in September I was gonna take a break, which like poor Bethany and Kim were like, what the heck's happening?
Which I completely understand. I totally understand. So now we're down to 2 coaches. We are going to scale back in the fall and take a break because Bethany and I are very tired. And we need to come up with a plan to develop some more coaches. So we're going to do that in the fall. We're not going to have regular practices. It's very unusual, but I think we really need to right now. Now we're all burnt out.
Right now, we have 2 official coaches plus me, and I'm willing to coach practices. I just didn't want the other stuff for a while, but that's probably a temporary thing. I don't know that we've ever had only 2 coaches, but we're also in a position where we've never had so many people volunteer to help lead practices. Like we have so many members now who they're like, well, I'm not a coach and maybe I don't want to be a coach, but I'm like really willing to lead league practices or lead level 1 practices or run the crash course.
I'm running crash course now.
So while we're down, we also have so many more helpers than we've ever had before. So I don't know exactly what the plans are, but I think it'll be okay.
I think the idea is we flip them at the same time.
Okay. Ready? Go. Oh, I love it.
Yours is way more detailed than mine.
And I think a lot of the time, I know I'm definitely guilty of this. If we have somebody who's volunteering and giving so much of their time and energy to something, sometimes we just forget to thank them because we just kind of take it as a given. I know a lot of the coaches who coached me when I first started playing were still coaching when I left the league. And I think that kind of longevity, people assume they're always going to be around. And I think, you take it for granted a little bit.
For me, roller derby means community and friendships. And it's a genuine honour to be one of Coach Potato's friends. Very important to me, that friendship. London Flog and Coach Potato.
And I've always thought that she's one of the best players that we have, and I'm always really proud to be on Ben's team and to play with her, and it's always fun too.
I'm really glad to know her, and I'd like to learn everything I can from her.
I am number 1 fan.
She also has a way of explaining things that makes sense. Someone can say something and she can re-say it in a different way that just clicks for you. And I think that's what makes Ben a really great coach.
Ben's pretty awesome as a coach.
Oh, she's a great coach. She and Baywatch work really well together. She's a great coach in general. Being a good coach is more than being able to skate really well or play the game really well. It's about being able to break it down and explain it. And honestly, both Baywatch and Ben do that really well. Yeah, so I really appreciate having both of them as coaches, especially Ben.
As a coach, when she delivered feedback, she was very balanced. She made sure to recognize her strengths and also give really constructive feedback on how to improve. And I am really honored to be able to call Coach Potato a friend. She is just so fun and so kind and very candid. And Even though she is quite shy, she's definitely worth getting to know. She's a great person all around.
You know, at one point every player is struggling and thinking, oh, should I top derby? I always think, what if Ven was in there in the league? Like, would I continue to be in the league, or do I want to do something else with my life? Ven is one big part of the reason why I stuck with the league.
I feel like it's hard to encapsulate one person
when there's so many aspects to them. I know Ven as a coach, as a skater, as a player, as a friend, as a teacher. She has all these different roles and she's so good at all of them. I just feel really lucky that I've been able to have Ven as a coach, especially for as long as I have. She's always teaching me new things.
Maybe I know I'm preparing a documentary and I'm like, oh, I have a lot of stuff to say.
There's only good things to say.
There is only good things to say. Awesome, thank you.
For being like, what do we like to have? Like chicken,
Chicken dance, chicken dance.
Did you sit in a puddle, maybe?
No, it's just my butt. It's just my butt. Also, I'm still being mic'd, so Bean will have that to deal with too. The whole documentary is just gonna be me being like, I have a sweaty butt.